Welcome to our social media workshop today. I'm Gary Weis from SBIM, and today we're going to take a look at how to choose the right social media platforms for your business. Now, here at SBIM, we know that as a business owner, you want to promote your business as easily and efficiently as you possibly can. And to do that, we all know you need to leverage the power of social media. Now, the problem is with so many social media channels and content types to choose from, deciding which social media channels deserve your attention, it can be a bit of a tough choice. Now, common questions we get asked here at SBIM all the time sort of go along the lines of, should I have an Instagram account for my business? Or should I start a Twitter account? Or should I even have a Facebook business page set up? Now, the answer is always, look, it depends. Because, when it comes to social media, one size definitely doesn't fit all. And look, contrary to popular belief, you don't necessarily have to be on every single social media network. In fact, that approach can end up doing more harm than good if you end up spreading yourself, too thin, create the wrong content, or you just end up cross-posting the same content across all of your platforms. Even established brands that employ dedicated, social media teams will tend to tailor their social media content to the nuances of each of the platforms, and they will roll out onto new social media channels with a more limited sort of suck it and see type of approach, rather than going all in, as they learn the ins and outs and the subtle nuances of each platform and how to effectively market on it. So for most businesses, the best approach is going to be to handpick social media channels that just make the most sense for your business, rather than trying to cover all the bases all at once. So your decision should be based around several different factors, and they include your target audience, the industry that you're in, and the actual social media content strategy that you're going to roll out. So if you ever asked yourself if your business is missing out on social media activities, stick around as we're going to break down how to choose the right social media channels for your business and also the right content strategy. The first thing you need to do is investigate what social media channels your audience or target market already use. Now, it's pretty obvious that you don't want to be, putting time and effort into a network that, the people that you're trying to target just primarily, don't use. Therefore, you need to clearly define your target audience and match it against the demographics for each of the social media networks. Now, look, there's plenty of demographic information out there on the web for each of the major social media platforms. And a simple Google search for something like, demographics for Instagram in Australia will reveal, probably what you need to know. Now, for example, we did this before, and if your target audience was, say, female 25 to 34, then you probably hit the mark with, say, Instagram. However, if your target market is men 55 plus, then you're unlikely to get a lot of traction on good old Insta. Now, in addition to researching the demographics, also take a look at how your competitors and the influencers in your space are using social networks. Now, take a close look at the content that they're publishing and who the top content creators actually are. Now, if the content your competitors and these influencers are creating seems to sort of resonate, with your audience, and there's a decent level of engagement, then you've probably found yourself a good social media platform to kick things off with. Now, the next thing you need to consider is what's your industry. Now, not every social media channel will work well for your particular industry. For example, visually driven industries like, say, fashion, cosmetics, and even restaurants and pubs and clubs will probably, establish a social presence on the likes of Instagram, Pinterest, or even Snapchat. These particular networks, rely more on visuals than, say, text. So they're a great fit for those sort of types of businesses that are visual. However, industries like, say, software and tech tend to set up shop on, say, Twitter or LinkedIn because of the tendencies for those platforms to be sort of more text and news-based. Now, the simplest way to determine what social networks cater to your industry is, again, to look at your competitors' social media activity. Now, ask yourself, Are they active and do they get engagement on what they're posting? And the first question is actually really, really important because companies don't tend to be, too active on a social media channel that's not delivering them any results. And, whether it's driving traffic to their site or, generating leads, there's a reason, they're more active on one channel over another. And look, engagement is also really, really critical because it shows there's actually an active audience there. So when we talk about engagement, it's not about the number of page followers. It's actually about how many likes, shares, and comments that your posts actually get. I mean, look, let's face it, having hundreds of thousands of followers, doesn't really mean much if the audience just isn't active. Now, the next thing you need to look at is which social media channels are already bringing you traffic. And sometimes, look, the answer to which social media channels you should double down on is actually right in front of you. So if you're in a position where you've been, giving multiple social media networks a bit of a try, but you want to narrow down your focus and sort of boost your content strategy on maybe one or two of them, look at how many visits your website currently gets from each channel. Now, you can easily find this if you log inside your Google Analytics account. And look, a quick tip here, if you don't have Google Analytics installed, probably right after this video would be a really good time to do just that. All right, now the next thing you need to consider is your social media content. Now, most businesses completely forget about or don't give enough consideration to this next step. So before you commit to a social media platform, it's important to think about how you want to use that channel and in particular, what type of content are you going to publish? For example, here at SBIM, we've got a dedicated video team. So we spend a lot of time in front of the camera creating, video content, just like this video, because, we have the ability to quickly and easily generate high quality video. We also have a graphics team, so we can easily create a lot of quote cards, infographics, and memes and content along those likes. Now, what we don't do a lot of are blog posts or lengthy articles, and this is just simply due to the fact that the amount of time that it takes to create that type of content. For us, video and graphics are quick and easy for us to produce, so we focus on the platforms that work really well with these types of content. However, we don't post all of this content across all platforms. Video for us works really well on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, but less over, say, on Twitter. Now, we also don't post memes on LinkedIn, but they work really, really well on, say, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. So to work out what your content strategy might look like, let's take a quick look at the top 10 types of content that tend to work best on the major social media platforms. Okay, content type number one is written posts, blogs, and articles. Now, LinkedIn and Facebook are perfect for these types of content, especially when it comes to articles that are, say, over 1,000, 1,500 words or even longer. Here you have a number of options. You can post the whole entire piece, or you can just post a short snippet, or you can just post a link to the content housed back on your website. Now, Twitter also works really well here, but the 280 character count means you can only sort of include a link and a small quote, but that can still drive traffic back to your website. Now, the advantages of this type of content are that the articles demonstrate that your business has a deep depth of knowledge and expertise, which can really help build your credibility and reputation. Now, the disadvantage is there's a lot of blog content out there. So you need to be creative and you need to come up with some new topic ideas. So writing also takes a lot of time to produce, especially if you're explaining complicated concepts. But if you're really good at writing and you've got the time, this could be the content type for you. All right, content type number two is ebooks. Now, users come to LinkedIn to connect with colleagues and learn, relevant information about their job or, other professional interests that they may have. But it makes it an ideal network to share ebooks. Now, Facebook and Twitter are also good options for your ebook. And the advantage of ebooks is that it tends to be, they tend to be longer and even more detailed than your blog posts or articles, which again can really help showcase the depth of your industry knowledge and expertise. There are also far fewer businesses sort of taking the time to produce ebooks, so the likelihood of your content sort of standing out is a lot higher. But the disadvantage is not everyone wants to read a whole entire ebook, and look, they can take a lot of time to produce. While they're great, while they're a great idea as a lead generator, people don't always actually read them, so you've got to weigh up, the pros and cons of the good old ebook. All right, content type number 3 is links to external content. Now, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook are great for any type of written content, even if it's just a link to an article you think your audience will find helpful or interesting. Now, the advantage of linking to content is if you don't have time to write your own content, you can always link to relevant articles and websites from other sources. Now, the disadvantages of this type of content is that it typically doesn't get a hell of a lot of engagement. Now, a quick tip here to increase your engagement is to make a commentary on the article that you're linking to. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Ask a question of your audience. Don't just link to the article. This added commentary or your point of view will actually encourage people to read what's got you all worked up. All right, on to content type number 4, which is images. Now, images work pretty much on every platform, but Instagram and Pinterest are by far the best networks for images and pictures. Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, and even Snapchat are also good options for images. Now, attaching a really good image to a blog post can also help improve engagement and clicks through to your website. Now, a big tip here, don't use stock images. Be creative. Nothing is less inspiring than a stock image, on a post. Put in some effort and you'll get the rewards. All right, content type number 5, and that's video. And look, video is the big daddy of content type. Now, the consumption and engagement of video is just so much higher than any other content type. Now, even video taken on a smartphone will typically outperform all other types of content. And if you've been following SBIM on social media at all, you've probably heard us talk about video over and over and over again. Now, not only does it have higher engagement, it's hands down the best way to build sort of that know, like, and trust relationship with your audience. So no matter what industry you're in, you really need to invest in video, as it works across the board, as pretty much all social media platforms are catering more and more and more for video. And look, longer video obviously suits the likes of YouTube, but short, less than a minute type of videos work really, really well on LinkedIn, Facebook, and really well on Instagram. And look, don't laugh, don't forget about good old TikTok. Do your research, like we've just outlined a bit earlier, and check it out before writing it off as just a kids network. It's amassed a user base of over 1.2 million here in Australia alone, and that's the second largest video user base after YouTube. Just saying. All right, content type number 6 is also video, but this time it's video stories. Now, video stories are short 15-second videos that last 24 hours before they just disappear from the stories feed. They're available on Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, and LinkedIn has just rolled out stories in the past couple of weeks. Now, a tip here is if you are using video, get on board LinkedIn stories while it's still really, really new. Now, there's plenty of views to be had over there. And video stories are also great to keep your audience up to date, about events and offers or any other announcements, that you may have, and also great for showcasing, behind the scenes glimpses of your business. And this is how we tend to use, video stories the most, is those behind the scenes little glimpses. All right, on to content type number 7, and that's also another video format, and this time it's live videos. Now, live streaming, it's just become, more and more and more popular by the day. I mean, look, during the whole COVID lockdown thing, I'm sure that we saw, probably the peak of live streaming events. But now, Facebook is the most, popular for live streaming, and you'll definitely see an improved reach for this type of live content, over normal content. Instagram is also popular for lives, as is YouTube, so don't forget those two. But the thing I like about lives is, it's the notifications that get sent out to your social media network advising that you've gone live. These notifications are also one of the reasons why lives get so much traction. Now, a tip here, don't worry if only a few people or even nobody, shows up for your live. Your live will be generated as a post after the event that will live on and on and on. And this is where you'll get most of your views anyway. So don't get hung up on, whether people tune in live or not. Just go live, enjoy it, and relax. All right, moving on to content type number 8, which is infographics, which are they're visuals that support, explanations and statistics and any other sort of, heavier written concepts. They're especially impactful for, conveying complex ideas in a pretty, short little space. Now, Facebook and LinkedIn are both really excellent options for infographics. Twitter is also a good choice. The disadvantage of infographics, though, is that they require both copy and graphics, which means you may need multiple people, working together to create them. They also require a fair amount of creativity and research. But they do tend to be worth the investment, though, because infographics really do tend to get shared a lot. So invest the time and people will pay you back accordingly. All right, almost there. Content type number 9 is testimonials and reviews. Now, these tend to work really, really well over on Facebook and LinkedIn. Now, even Facebook, that even has a built-in star rating, on your business pages, where LinkedIn, you can also, leave testimonials and endorsements for people that you're connected to. Now, this is a great content type as people tend to trust the opinions and experiences of others more than what, just a business page tends to say, which is why, testimonials and reviews are so valuable. So spend your time, go and get those reviews and testimonials, and again, they'll pay you back handsomely. And finally, content type number 10 is announcements. Now, this is just simply, getting the word out there about, any new products or events or live streams, and I suppose any other noteworthy things that, can help build hype and alert people about what's happening with inside your business. Now, audiences, just love having the inside scoop on their favorite businesses and brands, but you've got to carefully plan out, the length of time that's appropriate to begin building buzz and that hype. Because if you launch, the announcements too early, you might not gain any traction in the lead up to your event or your announcement. It's often best to just sort of trickle out the information slowly in bite-sized chunks. So think of announcements as a bunch of little teasers, leading up to a big news piece. And announcements can be made across the board. So, Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Pinterest. Look, as long as you adhere to the best practices of those networks, you shouldn't go too far wrong. So to make your brand stand out on social media, to save time and enhance your customers' user experience, take advantage of each social media platform's features sort of to weave, these different content types together. And look, don't be afraid to experiment and be creative with your ideas, because, over time, you'll learn which social media platforms and what types of content resonate most with your audience. You never know what works best until you give it a try. But remember, do your research first. So that just about brings us to a close. I hope that was of some help, and we'll see you next time on our next workshop. Cheers.